So don't add, don't take away. That's the big controversy today. Everybody's changing everything. I thought I was out there. Wow. But we're not changing the philosophy. Other people are changing the philosophy. They're very strict Mangalarti 4:30, followed by Tulsi Puja, followed by Guru Puja, followed by a 45-minute class, preluded by Jai Radha Madhava. They got it down. They don't change that. But everything else, complete massive. Particularly if it's about the proper conception of the prayojan. Like they got sort of have the first step, sort of. They don't even have the first step. It's very bad in the general modern Vaishnava world, Hare Krishna movement. It's not. Numbers of followers, off the charts. Tremendous. Numbers of temples, buildings, farms, properties, bank accounts, fixed deposits, more than ever before. Proper understanding? I don't know, just about worse than ever before. I've never seen it so bad. Very, very bad. So how to do kirtan? So I'm passing on to you the information. The idea is we don't need to do so many different things than in the time of Śrīla Prabhupāda. These little changes end up being big deviations is what they end up doing. So somebody somebody said, well, you guys have the surf ashram. I said, that's just a business. That has nothing to do, and we're not adulterating the... Adulterating? We're not adulterating the philosophy. And we're not compromising the philosophy just to please others. So every time we go to Bombay, we tell all of our friends there about all the bad habits they have and how they ought to be giving them up really soon or they're going to regret it in life. We're not just swallowing the truth to get some, whatever, help from somebody or some little bit of service out of somebody. No, we stick to the truth and try to extract service from those who really need to give that service. Understand? Not change the philosophy. The philosophy is very important. Philosophy means the siddhanta, the proper understanding, what is what and who's who. You cannot move through the different stages of bhakti unless you have the proper understanding. So the first stage is sambandha, and that means the proper understanding. Proper understanding. But nowadays people say, just chant Hare Krishna, it's all right, nothing else matters. Well, the proper understanding is if you chant Hare Krishna without the proper understanding, you're just watering the weeds. The anarthas grow, not the bhakti creeper. So it's really sad to see the state of affairs in the not so much in the traditional Hare Krishna movement of India, that seems to be surviving quite well, but outside, it's just make it up as you go. Make it up as you go to fit your society consciousness. I remember many years ago in Vermont, I asked we were speaking like we always speak, and then we had some visitors, and they asked Mother Leela Smarna, what's the name of, how long have you been, in this group or something? And I don't know, she said it was like 10 years or whatever it was, 8 years at the time. He said, oh, what's the name of your group? She goes, oh, that's interesting. I really don't know. So either that person probably thought she was a total fringe member, doesn't even know the name of the group, right? I was very happy to hear that because it meant I hadn't been preaching about our group, our society, whatever its name is. I forget half the time myself. I was very happy that she replied like that, But maybe the other person was thinking, well, she's not very tuned in, doesn't even know what the name of the group is. But is the name of the group that important? What's the name of this place? Govindajī Gardens.
Sometimes.
Most of the time. Govindajī Gardens Āśrama, in Mexico, Hardenas Govinda, Nueva Chakra. These are just names pulled out of the sky. They're not anything on paper other than we just put it there. It's who we are is our sampradaya. That's confusing sometimes too, isn't it? The Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. From Brahma through Madhva to Gauda Desh, to Bengal, to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So certain things can't change, or if they change, then we're looking at who knows what type of a future. All right, so that's the first thing. Please remember, if you're having any kind of jive, anybody other than the Maha Mantra means Gornitai or anything, you must include Prabhupada. He's the foundation of our connection. If it's not there, how are you connected? Understand? It's not just assumed. Well, I'm connecting to my guru, therefore. Yeah, well, if that's true, then therefore, the previous Acharya is always to be remembered, always to be glorified. All right, so, well, a lot of paperwork this morning.
A lot of good questions there. And
maybe I shouldn't have said the message. You shouldn't have told everybody last night. Then I'd only have to answer one or two questions.
Well, we can save something next time as well.
Oh, that's good.
Actually, I was going to start with a Chitty Guru's question because it's very much in tune with what you just said, and because it just came from Vrindavan. He asks, recently we have heard a lot about Vrindavan. Though it's being a dhāma, why is it now being considered as frontliner in Upper Siddhanta? Is there any spiritual reason behind it?
Yeah, the spiritual reason is everybody's admirer. It's the spiritual reason. Everybody lives in what is called Prauḍha-Māyā or
Prauḍha-Māyā.
Prauḍha-Māyā, the fog that exists above the dhāma. Mm-hmm. That's where everybody's located, and that's where all those problems are going on. If there wasn't another dimension to the dhāma, I personally wouldn't even want to go there anymore. It's an environmental nightmare. It's an overpopulated city. It has no infrastructure. It's just a plague ready to explode out of the sewers with monkeys, rats, and you name it, overflowing septic tanks everywhere you look. When it rains, it was just an ocean of sewage running through the streets of Vrindavan. Now, I don't think that that's how Vrindavan's supposed to be, because when it started, this is what it looked like. There were buildings and trees, and people were conscious about the trees, and then they needed more buildings, and the trees got cut down. All of them. You go Google Earth that place, boy, you know, if I give you $100 per tree inside the parkrama, you know, I don't have to be a rich man to do that. There are not many trees in there. From my window, I can see the piece of one tree when I look out past Rupa Goswami's Samadhi. And it used to be a forest out there. It would just look like this, treetops, trees. They didn't live in big houses. They lived in little mud huts, grass roofs, and they built nice temples for the deities and little dirt trails in between here and there. And that's the way Vrindavan was in the time of the 6 Goswamis and for centuries afterwards. But it just failed to have a master plan. And cement, like, what was he doing? Well, Vamana was washing my shoes this morning, cleaning my shoes from traveling, my canvas shoes. And he was washing them in a separate bucket out here. And I said, yeah, scrub them hard, Vamana. That's from the streets of Vrindavan. He goes, oh, touch it to my head. I said, no. I said, that's from the streets of Vrindavan. Spit, monkey stool, urine, and cement dust, mucho. You know, you got to dig down about this far before you get to Vrindavan. And every time we do, we harvest. And the earth is completely pure. It's a very silty, has a lot of mica in it, shining particles, you know. It looks like kind of like Chintamani. It's that Yamunā sand. Very clear, a light gray with sparkling silver. But up on top, like people are on the Parakrama trail, and I tell you, walking on top of 20 feet of garbage. When you approach towards Casey Ghat, before you turn into Radha-Damodar on the Parakrama, you're on a road they call the Parakrama Highway now. You could get run over on that place. Guys go 40 kilometers an hour on there, flying. It's just without any law. So that stems from something. Ultimately, that stems from the highest plane in the spiritual world, which is a lawless land. There are no laws to govern the service of Kṛṣṇa there. It's only the heart flow of love. So somehow or another, here go the peacocks. Somehow or another, that translates down here into something less desirable. People try to imitate the higher bhakti. They ignore the people. Like at Radha-Damodar temple, 1,000 people a morning go round and round. Nobody thinks to pick up a broom. Nobody thinks to maybe clean the glass. Everybody just walks round and round. Now, how much benefit are they actually getting from that walking round and round and doing nothing? Not very much. Not very much. And then when it comes to hearing, oh my goodness. Hearing, who has taken up most of the perches in Vrindavan, are different brands of Sahajism and Mayavadism and deviant sampradayas. It's hard to find a paka. In the Gaudiya Mutt, you can still find proper Harikatha in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But outside that, good luck. And people going to, just so many Babas now, so many Babas. They're popular ones in Vrindavan now. Some of them are half Mayavadi and the other half Sahajiya. The best ones are Hinduvad. None of them are Param. Or they claim some false, Param. They make some claim, some big high claim. So, front line of misconception in that fog, then due to deviation, people develop many of the wrong conclusions. But where it all comes from, it's a lawless land, Vrindavan, which we're aimed for. Service, surrender, and love, which is not ruled by you have to. Like the other day I said, if you want to eat breakfast, you have to be up and come to the program. Otherwise, no breakfast. That's what to do, Every once in a while you have to put the slab underneath it. Don't go this way, not this way. Otherwise, we don't have an ashram. We just have a comfortable living situation. In the middle of Maya's kingdom, that's not going to last. We have to fight to keep back the Maya, otherwise this is Maya's country. This is not Krishna's country, Krishna's country. This is Maya's country, Maya's domain. So you have to push it back. Like we said, to start here, we pushed it back with sticks. We bloodied a couple faces around here, actually. In the days of the Gosai got wars. When we had to push out the drunkards whose habit was to come here every weekend and drink, 22 years ago, we mounted an assault. And we whooped 24 of these drunkards over here. We beat, literally, physically, beat back the Maya. Then there was the fishermen who were encroaching, and they tried to throw sticks of dynamite at me, and I picked them up and threw them in the river. And then I punched out the king of the fishermen right at the gate and told him, go say goodbye to your women and children and come back here to fight and die. He was like, what kind of sadhu is this? We're from North India, buddy. Sadhus are mean in North India. Yeah, they fight for their turn. So that we don't have to go out and fight Maya like that, but the fact is, even here, we have to physically push back the Maya. And it's still going on with these half-cocked, ignorant farmers who want to steal the property of the ashram or do this or do that. This is Maya's kingdom, and there is a fight. That's what an ashram means. Prabhupada used to say ashrams are forts from which we fight Maya. By preaching the truth, not by physical violence. Mahaprabhu did not employ physical violence. However, sometimes physical violence befalls those who obstruct the path and the will of the Supreme Lord. It does happen. It can happen to individuals, groups of individuals, or even countries. And that is probably the curse of India. India's troubles come from avoiding the will of the Supreme Lord. Prabhupada emphasized this. That Mahaprabhu said, wherever you're born in this land, it doesn't matter. Whatever caste you're from in this land, it doesn't matter. It is a duty of everyone in Varsa to preach the glories of the Supreme Lord. This is their contribution to the world, not this economic development. All this is going to end in plague, destruction of society, degradation, mounting suicide, mounting murders, mounting rape. What the heck is wrong with India? Delhi's a rape capital of the world. It's only 130 kilometers from the Vraja. What happened to India? Better yet, what's happening to India? It's going on at every minute. Running, what people are after in this country. So many Brahmins in Bombay, I'm also Brahmin, but I'm not wearing the thread because now I'm in my Maya, drinks, non-veg, all this. They think it's like something children do, like children's nonsense, And then they grow up, from just playing, doing nonsense, and they become serious. However, it doesn't really work like that. Children are excused. There is no reaction to children, whatever stupid thing they do, until they pass, I think it's 14. Karma doesn't kick in. No matter what they do, they're not held responsible. And after that, the karma sets in. Well, for an adult, there is no leniency. Oh, I know what I should be doing, but I'm not doing it, So they've developed this very casual look about Maya, like it's child's play. Oh, it's not child's play. They ought to revisit the pictures of Durga and how many arms she has and the weapon she has and the tiger she rides on. And even as you drive into Vrindavan now, there's this 40-foot statue of Vaishnav Devi. Not Vaishnav. Vaishnavi Devi. This looks like Durga to me. But they say it's Vaishnavi Devi, and she's riding on a tiger. There must be Bengalis.
No, it's North Indian thing. Vaishno Devi is called.
Vaishno Devi.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, that wasn't part of the Vrindavan thing. So many things have come into Vrindavan now. Huge statues of Hanuman, huge statues of Ganesh. Now, what is this? And people are starting to say, oh, it's like hardware. There's a billboard every 10 feet as you drive down the last 7 kilometers to Vrindavan. Every 10 feet in the center of the road, there's a mini billboard, and the side of the road is this. Looks like you're going into Chennai. And apartment buildings, you're just built everywhere. It's like, where the hell am I, Noida? And I went to meet some devotees and have some talks in a modern building built by some Russian devotees. And as soon as we got there, I was like, welcome to LA. It was just like walking in a bank lobby. There was a beautiful stainless steel elevator. We just went out, everything. And modern doorknobs. The Western ones where you just push the button, and the bathroom doors you can unlock with a wire on the outside in case the kids get trapped inside. All of that modern stuff. All of that there. The top quality fixtures, modern. It was just like, yuck, where am I? Well, I was in an apartment building out there in Ramanreti, Vrindavan, in the cloud. And I wonder how you can even be in Vrindavan in this atmosphere. You're just surrounded by what looks like Los Angeles, or at best Bangalore, or Delhi or something. Completely just out of their environment. Then Pizza Huts and what is that Pizza Hut? We celebrate people's birthdays and things out here, way out here in the world, with such things offered to the deities. Such things are not encouraged in Vrindavan. Celebrating everybody else's birthday, all the devotees celebrating, having pizzas, this, that, restaurant eating. What is that? That has nothing to do with being in Vrindavan. That is for life outside. Life in Vrindavan means full engagement. Prabhupada said you're allowed 3 days to eye candy, look around, get your shopping done, then get to work. Start scrubbing them, mopping them. Shravanam, kirtanam, scrubbing mopping hearing, chanting, and cleaning the temple, doing service. That's what it means to be in Vrindavan. Most of the people who live there don't have any service. Just walking around in the morning, and only a fraction of them do that. So what's everybody doing there? Making money, building houses, all this kind of stuff. So Śrīla Prabhupada used to say things like, the Yamunā doesn't come to Vrindavan anymore because of the sinful activities of the people that live there. We'll put that in your katha, because of the sinful activities. The Yamunā just comes and nicks Casey Ghat. Where it used to come way over there and then come straight down past Madan Mohan and everything. That's why you have all those ghats and temples. That used to be the river like this. And then the Yamunā shifted her course. And Prabhupada also said something like, Kṛṣṇa is not in Bazaar. But if you go up and Google, where is Bazaar? Bazaar is smack dab right in the middle of all the main temples down there in Vrindavan where the Rasa Leela took place. It's called the Rastali area. But Krishna's not there. What does that mean? Well, that means they're in the cloud. They're just there doing business, all this stuff, capitalizing. So that word was coined by Prem Kishore, who said frontline misconception. And what else did he call it? Frontline what? Yeah. Well, out here, frontline misconception. No, people have so many different conceptions. It has nothing to do with us. Smartas are there, Jains are there, Brahman. So many people are there and doing their thing. Vrindavan is all about Gaudiya Vaishnavism, actually. And there's been so many things drawn in there because of the popularity. I mean, but these days everyone's pushing how big your temple can be, how big, and they're getting up there. And the fact that the latest one, designed for Vrindavan, looks something like the Seattle Space Needle from the 1964 World's Fair, is what it looks like. It looks completely it's more modern looking than the Burj Dubai in Dubai. It just goes glass all the way up. Kind of like an Eiffel Tower shape with a little kind of maybe Vedic-y looking something on the top. It's like, what the heck is that? So, HSBC Bank in Hong Kong? It doesn't look, and made of materials that won't last. I mean, I even saw a documentary about the Roman invasion of Scotland and how the Romans wrote their own histories and what really happened in terms of what really was, who were those people, all this kind of a thing. So the locals built out of wood and mud and small bricks. The Romans, however, brought in big rocks. And the stuff they built still exists. And everybody's house of wood and mud and everything they're temporary. Well, that's how people used to live in India. Your living facility would be temporary. It means it's not a permanent structure. The Lord's temple, however, was built to last thousands of years. So now these modern temple builders, in the race to build the biggest temple, I'm talking about the modern Hare Krishna world, they're turning towards cement and glass, RCC. Whereas this one Baba in Vrindavan, he set about building a temple. They call it Prem Mandir. Nice name, Prem Mandir. And it is colossal. And it's built out of stone. They didn't even use steel and cement. They just stacked the gigantic rocks and made a temple that's going to last thousands of years. Whereas these modern glass temples that they're making in Bangalore and Vrindavan and everything, they're not even good for 200. They will be an environmental nightmare when that steel rust on the inside and all this kind of stuff happens. Maintaining them over 1,000 years, none of them will exist. They won't exist. You can't last that long. None of it. I don't think anything in the New York skyline is built to last 1,000 years. With intense maintenance, maybe. Otherwise, these cities, the materials they're built of cannot stand in the air, even. If nobody even throws a rock at them, they can't stand, even against UV. It destroys the cement, the sun, everything. But the stone is as old as the earth. So, so I was looking at this gigantic temple and beautifully carved marble, every inch of it, just a mind boggle, right? Built by one of the most immoral and nonsense sahajiyas India has on offer. That's who built it. And it's over 100 acres. And they're building other things like an Astro Dome theater for exhibitions and all this stuff. And money is there like, can't even think how much money they have. Buildings there, it's just massive into the sky. And who's running it? Some Hindu sahajis with a lot of money. Meanwhile, I remember when we used to visit Śrīla Mahārāja on his veranda, which I don't even think was this wide. I think it was about
half the size.
No, it was about from here to there. Not half, about there. So we didn't come to Krishna consciousness to join a big building so that we could wear silk clothing or any such thing. At least I didn't, and I don't think any of you have come here for this purpose, or most people in the world that came to the Krishna consciousness movement came for enlightenment and self-realization and appreciated some social structure along the way. That's varṇāśrama system. That's a social structure for the world. But it's not a process for spiritual enlightenment for the devotees. There seems to be a huge focus on cow protection, cows, as if just by maintaining cows, you were going to realize the absolute truth. But if that be so, then what's wrong with the Jains and Pinjapal, who have hundreds and thousands of cows that they protect, and they're total Mayavadis, they're Buddhists. There's no automatic. There's so many people that are just atheists and they protect cows. In fact, Prabhupada used to quote the famous atheist in India, Charvak, said, "Get ghee and enjoy." He didn't say get meat and enjoy. Real enjoy. Get ghee and enjoy, you know. So even the atheist knew that, you know, the cow's value. So, and once when they might have been from Brazil, somewhere in South America, devotees were returning to their country, and they'd been in Chaitanya Saraswat Mutt for some time. And so just before leaving, they went to see Śrīla Śrīdhara Mahārāja. And they said something enthusiastically, "Yes, Gurudev, when we get back to our country, we're going to this and that and the other, and really bush cow protection and everything." And Śrīla Mahārāja said, "That's not a very important thing. You don't need to go and push that. If you go and push, means preach Krishna consciousness, if people are Krishna conscious, they'll protect all the cows automatically. But just because people protect cows and then enjoy, there's no big benefit in that. That's not the purpose of our movement." But as the Jains, they've turned towards this because it's some kind of religious principle. It's a feel-good principle, help the cows, right? But it's a little bit of a sad state when you've seen that become a main focus of the Hare Krishna movement in places, at least for some people, thinking that just if the world just protects cows, everything will be fine. That's not there, or you'd see it written real strong. Sadhana Bhakti, protect the cows. You know, I don't even know if it's mentioned. Is it?
It says, one should respect the cows, the Brahman, and the Tulsi.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah.
A lot of emphasis on varṇāśrama with their...
Yeah, a lot of varnas, like Prabhupada wanted varṇāśrama. They confuse. Yes, Prabhupada wanted varṇāśrama. That's for the world. The world has to have a social system, and that's the system. However, that same system for the devotees is inadequate as a spiritual process for self-realization. Mm-hmm. Just like our friend Chris Wood, who make the pizza ovens for us, who's now, I think, somewhere in Africa. He has some land somewhere on a beach in Africa.
Tanzania.
Somewhere like that. So he sent me this thing. I couldn't read it because it was blurry, but it was some kind of a poster, but it was about spirituality and surfing. It had a Buddha, and it said probably some interesting things. So then Chris got very enthused about that. So he wrote back and wrote to me and sent that and said something about surfing and the spirituality of surfing and what my response. Well, that might be, for some people there might be something there, you know. But when I explained to him, it says there's nothing spiritual about surfing any more than there is spiritual about organic gardening, mountain climbing, diving out of airplanes, studying earthworms or ants. There's nothing like, you know, and sports people think to say, you know, there's this moment of deep concentration, you know, the footballer's got it, the guy who's charging in the rugby, and they're just so focused, nothing else, the screaming crowd, they don't hear nothing, they're just doing what they're doing, and they take that as meditation. Total absorption in a point. Right? Well, that's true with a lot of... I've seen people so absorbed in the television that you walk in, walk right in front of them and sit down. Then they go, "Oh, when'd you get here?" And they go, "Dude, I just walked literally walk right in front of them." They're not paying attention. Attention is not there, so they don't even see. Another nice subject, paying attention when chanting Hare Krishna. That'd be for another day. That's a very important thing. So there's all these things that have cropped up. And, you know, mostly, you know, it's always been that way. Nobody has really survived Vrindavan, especially like a sannyasi or a preacher. that I know of who's gone to Vrindavan to live a long time has come out of there with their head in the right place. There's just too much other influences. It is not a place to go and live, it's a place to go and serve, and then go back to your living station where you're serving. Remember, we're the pūjala, rāga-patha, gaurava-bhaṅge group, a little distant and below. We don't try to just have our place in the dhāma. We have a place in the dhāma because of service. Other people have a place in the dhāma because they had money. And that's not always turning out to be the best thing. People get killed there. Not as much as before, I heard. Kṛṣṇa told me it's not as bad as the old days. He said now people have education, they have job opportunities. But before, you had this rising population in Vrindavan with no opportunity. And they would turn to crime a lot. And all these things were there. All these things were there. There's probably a lot of aparadh performed in Vrindavan every day. And a lot less service, probably. A lot of people there just for the wrong reason. Says one should come to Vrindavan and following the footsteps of the six Goswamis, not Vijay Mallya, following in the footsteps of these one gentleman's name is something Narayan, big real estate broker in Vrindavan, so he's now the biggest influence in Vrindavan. He's not even a devotee. He's just a businessman who can't even sign his name. He sits with a suit and tie and all this kind of stuff. But to get to that chair, well, there was a lot of problems, land problems in Vrindavan, usually result in the gun. And that's why in the end, we're very happy to be at Radha Damodar. We are totally surrounded by the Vrajavasis, totally happy, totally safe. Don't have to worry about nothing. Water, electricity, monkeys, nothing. Just focus on our service. But outside, oh, anything can happen. Anything. And it seems to happen to people who are there and don't really have a right to be there long term. Things happen.